Ladies and gentlemen, Six Fig Stock Trader here on YouTube. Tonight's video will consist of TA on Bitcoin and Voyager token. You're not going to want to miss out on this. I think the market could be getting ready to rip to the downside, and you're not going to want to miss this video. So currently, folks, we are looking at the 4-hour chart with Bitcoin. Now, as I have mentioned since August 6th to all of my followers, Bitcoin in the market was in this ending diagonal pattern, which is a very bad thing, very bearish pattern and sign to see. With that said, the market tumbled and we all knew it was coming. But now we've been consolidating for the last week. And what's going to happen next? Well, we have a symmetrical triangle forming, a death cross forming on the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. And the symmetrical triangle is an indication that previous price trend is likely to continue. Not all the time, but is likely to continue. Now, with this death cross that we have going, this is kind of concerning, because I do think we are about to see Bitcoin rip to the downside from here. In last month's video, I mentioned that we might see a $23,000, $24,000 Bitcoin by the end of September. That is still a possibility, but we have to understand where the market is at right now. Ending diagonal, I think price action is setting up for a nasty little corrective wave. And this might take us down to the $40,000, $38,000 level. But we can see the impacts of an ending diagonal pattern by looking at April's price action. We can see very similar patterns and price action. If we look over here, this is current day, we can see price action struck through the 50 and the 200, 50 moving average, death cross. We ended up with a symmetrical triangle. Same thing over here. Price action cut through the 50 and 200, symmetrical triangle here. Very beginning stages of a death cross, but this really bled Bitcoin down from 55,000 wicking down to 46.9. So with that said, Bitcoin did end up going on to form another ending diagonal after that, which did kill the price a lot more. We're not going to get into that right this second, but we have a bigger problem on our hands. And why is this ending diagonal going to be any different from this ending diagonal in price action? Well, we have to look at the weekly chart for some updates. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this and scream and shout about this for some time. Historically, price action after these big bull runs gets a single solid bounce before slipping into the bear market. We can see this is a result of a very nice corrective wave that rips through the market. People start taking profits, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here we go again. Historically, a single price action bounce off the 50 moving average into the bear market to retest the 200. We don't have any data down here, but I suggest this 200 was probably somewhere in here. Price action came down, bounced off of it. I think that would be highly likely. 2019, price action comes down, bounces off the 50, checks on this 200 moving average. So where does that leave us at right now? Well, we could kind of argue that the average trend line for a 200 might look something like this. And I do think that on the weekly chart, folks, we need to understand where we are at with the market. So we have this single bounce coming down, and we might be fixing to slip into the bear market. Now, I want to just emphasize on one thing. We could see a big shed like we saw last time. And in a 2-week span, we saw price action, bear with me, dip that much. And if we go to top of this candle here, or the top of this red candle here, let's just go to the top of this wick, we can definitely see a $22,000 and a half Bitcoin. You know, it's possible to see something like this in the next week or two. So I'm still not going to rule out my prediction last month that by the end of September, we could see that $23,000 Bitcoin. And people are going to wonder what's happening. And this channel has been basically illustrating the possibilities of a market correction of this significance now for the last couple months. With that said, folks, I'm not trying to be scary. This is honest. This is not financial advice. This is not, I'm not a financial advisor by any means. So take this with a grain of salt. But I do think that when we look at how Bitcoin in history just repeats itself over and over, it would be highly likely that we may see the same thing. And everybody talks to me about the stock to flow ratio. Well, that doesn't mean squat. I would rather go off visual candlesticks, stuff like that, these trend lines, and versus some sort of chart with a bunch of colorful dots on it. It's been an okay chart. I do think it has its imperfections. Off to Voyager token. Voyager token, as you guys know, has quickly become one of my more favorite tokens. And I just simply, for the fact that it's got a great future ahead of it, that's really all I can say. But with Voyager token, I do think that this thing, we're looking at a 4-hour chart. We can see this 50 moving average really barreling down like this. And I do think we might see price action come and bump this 50. And this may be somewhere around the $2.85, 90 cent level. But I'm not really seeing any good catalysts that will propel Voyager token in an upward direction if Bitcoin is correcting the way I think it might. So I do think that Bitcoin will influence Voyager heavily with that respect, in addition to the entire altcoin and crypto market. So my guess with Voyager token is that we are squeezing into another kind of weird symmetrical triangle formation. We might come up, check this 50. I just don't see it really climbing above too much. If it does, it might check this $3 level at the 61.8. But I do think that Voyager token is setting up to make a move down to the $1.79 level. And I'm thinking that if Bitcoin really turns around and starts cooperating with the market, we may see something like an inverse head and shoulders form on the Voyager chart. Who knows? It's way, way, way too early to be telling or making any sort of predictions like that. But we can clearly see that price action is kind of consolidating here. I mean, it's kind of just this symmetrical triangle pattern formation that we are seeing in Bitcoin and in many other areas of the market. Let's look at this on a daily chart. And man, RSI is at a cool 24. That is way, way, way oversold. And we all know it too. I'm looking at these stochastics on the daily chart. It's very hard to tell because of the token swap that occurred back on the 20th. However, I do think Voyager token will see some very, positive price action in the future. I'm just not sure if now is the time. And I certainly, personally, wouldn't be investing in Voyager token at this moment in time until we figure out if we are going to maintain above the 61.8 level or come down to the $1.78, 78.6 level. Of course, this is all very contingent on Bitcoin as well. On the weekly chart, we can see Bitcoin, is pivoting now. We can see the last candle that printed was a spinning top, and spinning tops are an indication of a price reversal. So we can see a spinning top here, market suffrage here, spinning top here, looking for market suffrage here. We got a doji star here, some spinning tops, indicating that the market was about to reverse, and it did. So we can definitely see how spinning tops are very accurate method to help kind of determine little shifts in momentum. So with that said, on the weekly chart, this is a pretty heavy shift, and instantly we're seeing a red candle, which is not good. It's really going to take a lot for Bitcoin to recover at this point. We will need to see next week close out above at least 53,000. Whether or not we see it is anybody's guess, but I do think we are on the way down to test this 50 moving average for sure, and probably cruise right through it. So with that said, folks, I just wanted to bring this late night video to you. Maybe you're waking up in the morning and seeing this. Just be careful of the market right now. It's clinging on to the edge of a cliff by its fingernails. So I hope everybody has a great night or morning. And I do want to give a huge shout out to my Patreons. Thank you all for supporting the channel, everything. I truly appreciate all of you. In addition, if you want to become a Patreon, it's $3 a month. Get your name, channel name, business name on this banner.